envies me for getting to go last. I'm between you and bed, or more drinks, one or the other. So naturally, in the last 10 minutes of class, you're watching the clock, and it's going to go really slow. So I'm going to do my best to help those teachers in the room experience what the students in the room remember so fondly. Make sure we drag this out a little bit. So, I have the distinct pleasure to get to introduce Angelica Ayala. And she graduated from Turlock in 2013. And she's going to tell you a lot more about her story tonight. But I think it's really important to highlight a few things. First off, she attended UC Santa Cruz. And naturally, like many of our student nominators, one major wasn't quite enough. So she started out with Spanish, but, applied linguistics seemed like a good fit. And then naturally, education had to get added in there. And so after getting a triple major, she thought, well, maybe a master's degree would be a good idea. And one of the things I think is so inspiring for our teachers, and one of the things we care so much about in the Carlston Family Foundation is developing teachers, right? And encouraging new teachers. And the Teacher Academy that Tim and the team, and I just want to say a huge thank you to the honorees who ran that academy this summer. It was amazing. The board is so proud of what you guys accomplished, and that YouTube video is stunning. Those of you who haven't seen it, please check it out soon. But one of the greatest honors a teacher can receive is for one of your students to follow in your footsteps. We all want our students to be successful, and we all want them to be successful at whatever drives their passion. But there's something to be said when your student decides to get a master's in education and then decides to come back to Turlock High School and to become the community liaison for the Latino community at Turlock. And in order to contribute back to the school, and in order to really touch the people that need that contact, and to give back to what she received at the school, there's no greater testament to the impact our teachers can have than the impact that Mrs. V had on Angelica. Come on up.
I want to thank everyone, and I want to thank especially Tim for being very, very patient with me as I replied to all your emails. I'm sorry for the delay, and I'm sorry to everyone in advance. I'm going to get a little personal tonight, and there might be some tears. So tonight I have the distinct honor to honor and celebrate, can we hear this? A powerful and influential woman, my former speech and debate coach, my teacher, my mentor, and my friend, Mrs. V, or V, as many of us call her. And she has watched me deliver speeches countless times. And I think that there's something so poetic about me being able to deliver this speech that I wrote especially for her. So to provide a better understanding of the impact that Ms. V has on my life, I would first like to share a glimpse of my story. I grew up in a working class neighborhood in the east side of San Jose, California. My father was not in the picture, and my mother was very young at the time. As a result, I moved from one place to another. I lived with my grandparents, with aunts and uncles in Mexico months on end, and even slept in a car with my mom before moving to Turlock, where I met Ms. V. I have very few, yet vivid memories of my childhood. Living in the heart of East San Jose, I frequently witnessed gang violence in my community. I experienced it and even stood by my grandfather as another man aimed a gun to his head. My mother and I had a difficult relationship. In a sense, we grew up together. When I was 5, she decided to finally marry after years of dating different men. The man she married, however, was incredibly violent, and for reasons I still do not know, he harbored a lot of hate towards me, and one day attempted to choke me to death. My mother shortly divorced this man, but our relationship only got worse over time. By the time I was 8 years old, I had attempted to commit suicide after surviving sexual assault. And years went on, and I held on to a lot of pain, trauma, and I questioned my existence in many occasions. As a student, navigating the public school system in a place like East San Jose was equally challenging. I did not speak English fluently for many years. In 4th grade, my teacher sent me to the principal's office every time I spoke Spanish in class. She said it was rude to speak a language that she did not understand, but I didn't know any other way, and because of this, I felt like I did not have a voice in school or at home. In middle school, I moved between some of the worst public schools in San Jose. Much of my schooling felt hostile. Several police officers patrolled and arrested students regularly, and teachers constantly kicked students out for disruptive behavior. In 7th grade, I realized what some educators thought of the kids like me when my language arts teacher told my class that 80% of us would be high school dropouts due to pregnancy or incarceration. I was so disillusioned by the education system, and I did not have anyone around me who did not feel the same way. Everyone in my family had dropped out of high school or pushed out into what I now recognize as the school-to-prison pipeline. By the time I got to high school and met Mrs. V, I was a freshman. I had so much baggage, trauma, and absolutely no interest in school. I came to her class as a quiet freshman who hardly went to school, and yes, was failing almost every class, including Mrs. V's. I enrolled in her speech and debate class without really putting much thought into it. The first day, however, I noticed she was different than many of the teachers I had in the past. I heard compassion, understanding, and firmness in her voice. By the way she spoke about her students, it seemed as if she didn't believe that it was possible for us to fail. The day she approached me to discuss my grade, I knew something was going to be different about this interaction. It would not be the typical, "You're choosing to fail my class" statement I had heard countless times from other teachers. And I was right. Ms. V sat me down, and immediately I knew she was there for me. She asked me why I was not going to speech and debate tournaments, which were part of my grade, and I explained I had no one to take me, and I also explained that my mother was too strict anyway to let me go. She asked me why I missed school so often, and I explained that I took care of my younger siblings. She didn't know at the time that it wasn't in my plans to stay in school very long. But one topic led to another, and I found myself crying in her office, opening up to her while she met me with tears and comforting words in return. Afterwards, she convinced my mom to let me attend tournaments, and she personally picked me up and dropped me off every single tournament so that I could pass her class. Mind you, we left at 5 in the morning some days and didn't come home until midnight. When I qualified for the state championships for speech and debate the following year, and I couldn't afford to go, she helped fund me. That was the first time I had ever set foot on a college campus. She believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself. She worked with me until I developed a voice of my own, and I gradually changed from the quiet, disillusioned student ready to drop out of high school into the strong, persevering woman I am today. Year after year, she encouraged me, pushed me, and was there for me. She became a mother figure. It was during that first interaction when she showed an immense level of compassion and interest in helping me that I knew I mattered. And truly, that made all the difference. She cared beyond just helping me pass her class. I began to try harder in school, as she taught me that it was my way out of the situation I was in. She also taught me that my reality was different than my destination, that my circumstances and environment would not define me, that only I could define me. And so by the time I was a senior in high school, I had assumed many leadership roles where I used my newly found voice and challenged myself to aim higher and higher until I became the first in my family to not only graduate high school with honors, but go to college and graduate with honors. During an award ceremony that my family couldn't attend, she sent her husband and beautiful daughters to greet me with flowers. She welcomed me into her family with open arms. As an undergraduate at UC Santa Cruz, she continued to support me. When I struggled to stay motivated, she would remind me of how far I had come and pushed me to keep going. She applauded every single one of my endeavors. I was able to finish my undergraduate career in 3 years, and during my 4th year, I was chosen to represent my university in a binational program in California's state capital and Mexico's autonomous university. When I couldn't afford that, she contributed to funding that opportunity so that nothing, not even financial hardships, could get in the way of that. And frankly, I could go on all day. I could list endless examples of the times she went above and beyond her obligations as my speech and debate coach. But I only have 3 to 4 minutes, which I think I passed that. So my point is that during every important moment in my life, since that first interaction, V has been there for me and fulfilled a role I may have otherwise never known. Today, as I continue to work towards my goals, as I pursue an MA in education, a PhD, or anything else I set my mind to, I know that, unfortunately, the challenges and struggles I face in my life will not stop the moment I reach these goals. However, and this is the core of V's impact, I know that it is the way we meet these challenges and struggles as human beings, the way we validate and honor, confront them, that really determines what we will manifest in our lives and truly make us successful. So without further ado, I'd like to thank, honor, and applaud Ms. Michele VanNieuwenhuyzen.
So how do you follow that? First off, I'd like to just thank the Carlston Family Foundation for the honor of even being here. The way that we have been treated this entire weekend, and I think I've said it to other people, it's just, teachers don't get stuff like this. In the time that I have been a teacher, I've taught drama to kindergarten through 8th grade students as an artist in residence. I was a substitute teacher. I was a Jimbo the Clown for Gymboree. It's true. My husband has the picture to prove it. I never thought I was a teacher, but everyone that I worked for thought I was. And so I feel like you're not the only crier. I'm so glad. You're not. As soon as I saw you up here, I was like, we're in this. Yes, I know. So I never thought of myself as a teacher, but everyone else thought I was. And that's kind of the same thing that I look at in my students, because sometimes you can't see it in yourself, but someone else sees it in you. And when I heard about the nomination, I hoped that it was Angelica, because I feel like she is my biggest success story. And just the eloquence that she has whenever she's up here, and the poise. If you had seen her as a freshman, and that conversation that we had, the first conversation that we had, I had an office and it had a couch, and the kids would be like, this is a couch talk. We need to have a couch talk. So they would want to come in and sit down on the couch and tell me something, and I felt like I needed the little peanut sign with the, But I knew she was different. And as we kind of grew to know each other, I could see that there were times whenever she felt really good about herself and she felt like she could do it, and there were times whenever she didn't feel so great about herself, even though she was doing all of these awesome things. And I feel like that's what a lot of our students feel, and what we as educators feel. We feel that way sometimes. We feel like we're making a difference. We feel like we're doing the work. We're doing the good work. And it's being seen by our students and felt in the hearts. But then there are other times whenever we feel low and we need a support system. And when I was a kindergarten teacher for 10 years, before I came to the high school, I had a conversation with my husband at the time, because teaching kindergarten was hard, but easy. I had been there for a while, and I kept feeling a pull to come back to the high school that I graduated from, which is Turlock High. And I had worked with the drama department for many years, ever since I had graduated. And I remember coming home after I had done some directing, and I came home and I talked to my husband. Every day I was coming home and I was just crying. And he didn't know, what's going on? What's the problem? And I said, I just feel this pull to go. I feel this pull to go to the high school. And at the time we had two young daughters, and he said, well, if that's what's in your heart, then you need to go. And I feel like as educators, we all have that kind of tug to do what's right for our students. But then to have someone in your life who supports that and enables you to kind of do what you think you're best at. I have my husband to thank for the move from kindergarten to high school, because he said, do what's in your heart and we'll be okay. And the support system that I have is not unique from others that I have heard about tonight. But I'm the drama teacher. So, I mean, yeah. My mom is here, my daughter Emma's here, my sister, my brother-in-law, my husband. Every one of them does something for me so that I can do this. And it would not be the same if I didn't say something about them and just what they have given to me. My mom caters for our speech and debate state qualifier every year, and she is the person that I go to when I need props and costumes from the Goodwill on Tech Week, and my husband is down on Sundays building sets at the theater, and my sister is bringing me killer jewelry to wear tonight. And making programs or anything that I send out to them, they do. My daughters don't have me all the time because on my oldest daughter's birthday, I was at a speech tournament because that's my job. And she turned 16 on the day that I was at a speech tournament. And my youngest daughter had her birthday whenever I was doing a play. So they are taken away from me and I'm taken away from them in a lot of different ways, but I feel like when you are growing your own family and you also have the ability to grow people like Angelica, it's not just a job. So thank you so much for allowing me to go over, I'm sure, my 2 to 3 minutes as well. But again, I'm the drama teacher and the speech and debate coach, so I had to go there. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.